Richard, we'll start with the guy that a lot of people believe, and I bet you can elaborate, was at the basketball game on Tuesday night, and that's Latavius Brinney. What can you tell us about his visit on Tuesday and Wednesday at the University of Arkansas?
Well, it obviously went pretty good by his comments and what he told Dudley. He has a previous connection with Coach Pittman, which we obviously would know. I'm sure he knows Scott Fountain too. I think that those two things probably help Arkansas, and obviously his respect for Coach Pittman is off the chart. And then obviously Sam Carter's a very good recruiter, and I think there's been a connection there in a short period of time. And and I also think that seeing that Arkansas is doing pretty good in the SEC, that he saw him firsthand. Obviously, it wasn't Arkansas's best game of the year, but I think that through the rest of the season, he saw that they're on the rise, and they want him, and they see a need for him, and I think that's an attractive thing for him. And looks like he's going to visit Texas, Mississippi State, and possibly Louisville, but it's going to be a jam-packed visiting schedule if he does all three of those.
Let's go to the high school ranks, not too far from here in Bixby, Oklahoma, kind of a suburb outside of Tulsa. Luke Haas, however you say his name, he's looking at Arkansas. It's an Oklahoma guy, so a lot of Sooners fans expected it to stay home. But what can you tell us on the latest about another tight end potentially being added to the class of 2023?
Yeah, Luke, he's visited Arkansas several times this year. His mom has season tickets. He's got an aunt that graduated from the University of Arkansas. His sister graduated from the University of Arkansas. And the relationship with Dow Loggins is very, very, very solid. And I think Arkansas is in a very, very good shape with him. I think eventually him being a Razorback is a very good possibility. But when that happens, don't exactly know.
Yeah. Richard, we were trying to do the math earlier. We think there's 82 scholarship players, and that would leave 3 opening. Have you run the math? I know John Stephen Jones and Clennon and was one up. Winkle left the team. So walk us through the math as best you understand it now, kind of where this team's at with scholarships, how many left to put in, and kind of where they stand in regards to the 85 scholarship limitation.
Yeah, it's been my understanding that they've had 3. I knew that the guys that announced that they or reported that they're leaving. I knew that was a strong possibility. I knew that I know a couple of them already have jobs, so that kind of gave you an indication that they didn't plan to come back. But and I said last week that I expect them to add 3 more, and I think that's what you're looking at. Latavius is obviously one of them that they would like to add, and then I think you're probably going to see a couple of defensive linemen be added to from the portal.
Yeah, that seems to – when you talk about areas of need, to me, I think number one on everyone's list, and I think it jumps out as just depth at defensive line because just seems like you got more question marks up front there on that side of the line.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, hey, your 3 starters were portal guys last year, and they're gone. And if you felt really, really good about your depth, you wouldn't have added them last year. So obviously, the guys that are on campus are a year older and more mature and stronger and all that, but still yet. I tend to think that, that's exactly what they're looking at. And again, we've mentioned it numerous times. It may not be anytime soon. It may be later in the spring, like all 3 of those guys jumped on board last year.
Richard, I want to also bring up this basketball class. 5 top 100 kids on ESPN rankings, and Nick Smith Jr. is high as 6, which is pretty impressive. Jordan Walsh at 10, and then the other guys up there as well. That is a big deal for Arkansas to be that high. I think they're only one of 2 schools in the country that are like that. Your thoughts on how talented this basketball class is?
Well, I mean, you say 5 in the top 100, 2 in the top 10. that's Arkansas's never seen that before. That's just a great example of this staff, Coach Musselman and this staff, and how hard they work and how well they connect with the kids, and also just the way they can communicate their vision for each individual prospect. And that's why you always hear most of the guys that I talk to saying that Arkansas recruits them as harder than anybody they've seen. It's just hard work, and when you get that combination, I think classes like this, not only now but in the future, are a possibility with this staff.
And maybe they come easier because when you do your front on your work on the front end, the back end, typically for the most part, I think most people would tell you if you work really hard at first, it gets easier down the stretch, and hopefully this Arkansas basketball team can continue to do. And speaking of this basketball team, Richard, we saw a team that really was kind of stuck in the mud during the first part of SEC play and really to end non-conference play, and they've turned it around as of late. What have you thought about this response of this basketball team who has a chance to win 4 straight against Texas A&M this Saturday night?
I think it all comes back to defense, and also I think defense is number one. But also you're starting to see chemistry, probably on the offensive end, come together for the first time the last few games, and it's no coincidence that they're on a little bit of a winning streak here because of that. I think all the pieces that took a little longer than maybe what Coach Muss and the staff wanted, as far as them, being able to connect and feel comfortable and know one another and know some tendencies of each other, and I think you're seeing the byproduct of that, but I think it really starts at the defensive end, because obviously Arkansas is not going to be a great 3-point shooting team. They got to do it in the paint and mid range and driving to the basket, but you got to make it up in some way as far as defensively, and making sure a team doesn't go crazy on the 3-point line, and that just makes it much tougher on you as a team.
We were talking about this with Tom Murphy about 30 minutes ago, and it seems like scoring is down a little bit, at least in the SEC games. Those are the ones I probably watch a whole lot more than the rest of the country, but just seems like when you look at top 25 scores, we're seeing a lot more games this year where the winners and the losers are in the 50s and the 60s, where last year it seemed like there were more games in the 70s and the 80s. I don't know what the statistical comparison is a year ago versus right now, but is that are you seeing more defense, or do you think offense is off a little bit? Because it feels like, at least, scoring is down in college basketball a bit this year.
I think offensively, I think you probably I think offensively, you see guys or teams that just don't have that one or two, guys that just can score at will at times sometimes. So I think it's more that than defensively. Defensively, I think the defensive teams that play really good defense are usually pretty consistent of that because of the coaches that they have, and you didn't see a huge turnover in coaches last year.
No, that's true.
Richard, thanks as always, man. Hopefully they'll get some good recruiting news by the end of this weekend, and we can recap it with you next Thursday as they try to pluck some guys out of the portal.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some good news come out of Fayetteville in a few days. And one last thing I got to say, a shout out to Roger at Tiny Town. He's a big fan of Tommy and Ty, and he even listens to me when I'm on once in a while. So I just wanted to say that he's a big fan of you guys.
Well, Roger, we appreciate it, man. And Tiny Town's a good place. You would think Tiny Town's kind of like Krebs, Oklahoma.
Let's do some spaghetti.
Yeah, some of the best food in all of Arkansas is in Tiny Town, Arkansas. So we appreciate it. Thanks, Richard, and tell Robert we said hello.
All right, Bob. We'll see you.
All right, Richard Davenport here with us on the Morning Run.
BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile wagering to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.